finish it. Say before. We're live?
Yeah.
There? Yeah. Folks, this is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It's Friday, March 27th. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We have a new draft, the capital budget. It's 3.1, and the goal is for us to vote this bill out within the hour. But we're going to be reading it line by line, so we know what the bill says. So, John, welcome.
Anything else?
But I know you've gone through the sections. We also have a new spreadsheet for everyone
Track 4.
as well, version 4 of a spreadsheet. As you all well know, I went down to appropriations this morning with our amendment. Unanimous. They had some questions on a couple of items on the allocation piece. But outside of that, it was pretty straightforward. So John, thank you.
Perfect.
We have Scott with us too.
John Gray, opposite legislative council. Yes, I will screen share. I do have to leave at 2, so I will
Done
be,
by then.
and of course you can vote without me, but hopefully you're done by then. And the cash is happily resolved in the budget as of this morning, so that is good. Very quick fix to that.
Good thinking.
So let's start with section 1 on page 1, legislative intent. And section 1 sets up the aggregate figures for the total of the bill. We have the updated new total 122 million, the modded sections, and then some updates to the first year appropriations.
So that 122 million plus. That does not include the cash.
Correct.
That is just one.
That's just bonded. Yep. So we jump next to our bond funded project authorizations in section 2, and nicely, section 2 of this bill is amending section 2 of the underlying capital bill. So that's nice. On page 2, we've spoken about this before. The statewide 3-acre parcel stormwater compliance in FY26 dropped from 1.5 million down to 1.1.
So what I'd like to do is make sure that a few of you are tracking, this is just another set of eyes. A few of you are tracking the dollar amount for that. Because I know John has worked with Scott, Scott's worked with John, but it's good for just a set of eyes to take a look at. And this would be in the bonded column for FY27.
This first one's FY26,
26.
section 2 of,
I'm sorry. FY26. It's there.
the next piece, we are still in the same section, but FY27 now. And so major maintenance could be up from 8.5 million to 9,013,413.18, applying that kind of surplus to the major maintenance. The next piece is repealing the 1.1 million in FY27 for 3-acre parcel stormwater compliance. So you had that reduction in FY26 to 1.1, and now you have a complete zeroing out in FY27. Just a textual change to the 50K appropriation for State House replacement interior finishes that was previously historic interior finishes to ensure that it captures, I think, the carpets, historic.
You know, originally the language was carpets and drapes. And then set,
Might have worked.
Yeah, so now it can apply to anything, there's no argument.
that's why we had historic finishes.
Yep.
So that ends up limiting what BGS can do.
Correct.
Well, if you see anything, feel free to weigh in.
Although we could tell Wanda we switched it back to carpets and drapes just for fun in the hall.
No, it wasn't them that had a problem, it was some of our colleagues that had a problem with it.
Next is a reduction in the appropriation for 120 State Street HVAC, steam lines interior renovation. That's down from 2 million to 1 million.
Yep, that's the.
And then we have the State House entryway upgrades, design documents, including comprehensive plan and delivery truck access, which was a request yesterday, 1.3 million bonded.
They can get through design documents. I mean, by the time January comes along, I don't think you have to worry too much if you get into construction documents. Right? Scott?
For the record, Scott Moore, Joint Fiscal, just so the committee knows, this current version, version 4 with the green at the top, this is one of the three changes I've made was that language. All the other numbers are still the same, so don't worry about there being a lot of differences between version 3 and version 4. But this is one of them. That language does change on this new spreadsheet
To include delivery.
to include.
Well, it doesn't include delivery, but we missed that, Scott. It says truck
This
access.
is truck access. I can add delivery if you'd like.
The
The spreadsheet,
spreadsheet is not the law, just to be clear.
it's the guideline.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's
Throw it all out.
let that go.
What was the
Unless we
intent
had
of
some
the
other
spreadsheet?
changes.
Truck tells you that it's delivering.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure I can do anything.
Not necessarily, it could be something.
Oh,
parking
okay.
truck.
Anyway, we'll, move on down the line.
You drive
That's
a
it.
truck, you need truck access.
Okay. I'm gonna skip over the aggregate figures. We've
You
looked over
guys,
them.
I'm gonna have faith in you folks.
Okay, so page 3, section 3 of this bill, amending section 3 of the underline. The first updates are to your FY 27 bonded. And so for statewide planning, design, and construction for HVAC upgrades at correctional facilities, you have 9,426,254 and 21 cents.
8.4 now.
A big increase.
We usually don't see that. Plus we have cash.
And this is what was in the GovRec, I believe.
This is already on top of,
It's all HVAC.
no, it's already on top of 4, I think we already have about 4 million, 5 million already in the bank.
They're moving.
I know. I'm glad we're doing it, but who would think it would be this high cost? Which facility does, can someone remember what facility after Newport? Is it St. J and the work camp?
I can get it for you.
I think it's St. J and the
I
work
think
camp. This morning I couldn't remember if it was Rutland. Chittenden's already air conditioned, I think, isn't it? I think Rutland is,
Yeah, Rutland.
so it's St. J.
Next, we jump to section 4. Again, this amends section 4 of the underlying Act 33 from last year. And your update for the FY 27 bonding for roadside historic site markers. In Act 33, we had 25K. That's now been amended upward. We have 45K for roadside historic site markers in FY 27. And we are in section 4. Consistent with the GovRec. We jump next on page 4 to the vet's home. This is section 6 in the underlying bill. So if it's helpful, I'm gathering that it's more helpful for me to call out the section from the underlying bill that amended than it is to call out the numbers in this act, at least until we get to the policy sections. So I'm just going to keep referring to the section number in Act 33.
That's what we're doing, folks. We're amending the bill that we passed last year.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
I can say both, yeah. We're in section 5 of this bill, but we are amending section 6 of the underlying, the vet's home.
So when people see on line 2, section 5, 2025 acts and resolves, number 33, that's our capital bill of last year, which is the 2-year budget. So we're amending that 2-year budget bill.
In subsection B, this won't show up in the spreadsheet just because it's a textual point. Increased flexibility to move funds across your FY 26 and FY 27 figures. So just increased flexibility within section 6 in the actual update to the appropriation is that in FY 27, 1.25 million for sewage system and elevator upgrades.
So let's read A, B, and C. So we really understand this here, because I know some of it's from last year, but it's all connected.
Yeah, in FY 26, you have 710K for replacement of air handlers and 340K for expansion of laundry facilities.
And they can move money around between those 2 items. We did that last year. So where it says section 1 and 2. And then the amount that's appropriated in C, which is a 1.25.
Yep.
Yeah, let's. So when it says transfer any unexpended balance, project balance between amounts between 1 and 2, and the amount appropriate in subsection C, are we also saying they can move money around with A1 and 2 is C?
Yes, it's complete flex.
I'm because I know I'm the one that explained it, and that's what I was trying to.
With one caveat that the way that reads, 1 and 2 would need to be, I think, completed, right? The unexpended project balances.
I don't know that they have to be, I
Oh,
mean, I
that's
take
true.
your point,
No,
it's
that's
just
true.
if you haven't expended some of the, right? It doesn't create a priority amongst FY 26 and
Oh, you're right.
27. It just says you have a section. We appropriate these for FY 26, we appropriate these for FY 27. You have flexibility across all of the funds within this section.
I'm trying to recall the conversation where. Yeah, because I'm moving the laundry to A wing. We took money for 1.25. We took money from the elevator upgrade. And 500,000 bonded, and then we bumped that up.
As I understood it, it was to create maximum flexibility.
Yeah, it sounds like some defective air handlers or something.
Yeah, the air handler, that's right, because they're waiting for the
Replacement,
insurance, the
yeah.
replacement and all of
Yeah.
that. Just wondering. Are we clear on this section, folks?
Yes. So next, section 6 of this bill, but in the underlying Act 33, section 10, which is your clean water initiatives. And you can see the changes on page 5. These are consistent with the GovRec. And these maintain the exact FY 27 appropriation you had expected last year. That's what you see at the top of page 5 is we're striking out the 10 million appropriation in FY 27 to ANR for clean water implementation projects. It's now replaced with specific sets of grants. And so that's what you see below, and they all tally up to 10 million. So it's the same total. And the actual updates that you see, consistent with the GovRec, in subsection G on line 7, 1.5 million in FY 27 to Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets for water quality grants and contracts.
Yeah, no,
Keep going.
yeah.
In FY 27 to ANR for DEC for Clean Water State Revolving Fund, you get 1,577,600. Also through ANR for DEC for municipal pollution control grants, 3,922,400. The figure that I had mistakenly listed as 2 million in the first draft. In FY 27 to ANR for Department of Forest Parks and Recreations for water quality improvements to forest access roads, you have 200K. And then to VHCV, the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, 800,000 for agricultural water quality projects, 2 million for land conservation and water quality projects. Should tally up to 10 million. It's the full of your updates to section 10, the clean water initiatives.
Don't have the total.
Because it did not change the, are you asking about why the aggregate figures aren't shown?
The total number.
Yep. So the total would list 10 million for FY 26 and it would list 10 million for FY 27. Because you removed a $10 million
Are you?
appropriation in subsection E, it was contemplated in last year's Act 33, that the FY 27 bonding was 10 million. And now what you've done is you have the same total figure, 10 million. Instead of being one line item, it's these several line items that tally up to 10 million. So we don't need to amend the totals because Act 33 already correctly reflects a 10 million total.
You just add up to that section 10.
On page 6, section 7 of this bill, but amending section 14 of Act 33, which is your judiciary. which is to say that just for context for the crew, any of the sections that you don't see amended here remain exactly as they are in Act 33, right? So those have the standing appropriations that they had in last year's capital bill. We're jumping forward to the judiciary section, and what we have here is an FY27 BGS for the judiciary for the Newport Courthouse project, $1,720,818.84.
And we weren't specific in terms of what that 1.7 is gonna be used for, because and Cole, you already have authority to purchase land there in Newport, so, yeah.
So that takes us out of our bonding sections where we were doing bonded appropriations. And we jump next to the reallocations. And I do have an update from discussions last night that led to the amendment on the floor this morning. As you know, decided in committee yesterday to duplicate as the typical process, the cash appropriations in the budget. So that's what you saw in the amendment this morning that passed. But one of the things that JFO drew our attention to is the use of the word reallocate as used for cash as used for bonded. This is, you're going to see highlighted here, reversion. There's no substantive change to any of the sections here. This is just technical cleanup to ensure that we use the language finance and management likes used for these pieces. And so when we talk about the cash pieces, instead of saying reallocating, we'll say revert. And I will just offer that in the future, in part because this was a rush, I may in the future separate these out into two separate sections just for ease of reference, reallocations being exclusively bonded and reversions being exclusively cash. And then we would just talk about cash reallocations and, bonded reallocations and cash reversions. And in part, would also make it clearer the tie to defraying expenditures to sections 2 through 16, which are bonded, and defraying expenditures in section 19, which are your cash. So there might be some greater tightness in the act, but given just the rush here, and it really is just a technical change, I've just swapped in revert. So that's why you see it here.
In the budget world downstairs, they use reversion. They don't use reallocations.
So this is the full set of new reallocations and reversions. In subsection A, we're talking about pieces that were previously appropriated to BGS.
Did we have this in the previous draft, following sums
Yes.
appropriated to?
Yep, that language is in the previous draft.
Reallocate?
This is not a substantive change either. This is a stylistic change in talking with Grady at JFO. And you can think of it as when we come to further subsections that speak about reallocations from other departments, the way we phrase it there is the following sums appropriated to the entity are reallocated. So this creates stylistic conformity across the different subsections, but it is not a substantive change.
I don't want to imply that the capital bill is appropriating.
Yeah, what this is saying is previously appropriated funds to BGS are reallocated. The following sums that were appropriated, you could read that in, to BGS are reallocated.
These are all bonded.
These are all bonded. It will be clear when we get to, you'll see highlighting when we get to the cash sections. And I do include some cleanup from language from last year, because we did in two instances, the committee did in two instances reallocate cash last year. So the issue could have come up at that time, didn't, and it really is a technical thing. It is not I think it's pretty clear what here is. So the first reallocation you see and consistent with the GovRec here at the bottom of the page, East Cottage, 43,190.08. On page 7, I will just call out some of the difficulty that comes with tracking these, where you see of the amounts rather than amount of the amounts appropriated, and we have the call out to the 2019 capital bill. We're picking up various projects. So this is multiple line items in section 2C. And in aggregate, what you have from that 2019 capital bill is $1,624,241.12. But whenever you see that in the lead-in language of the amounts, as opposed to of the amount, calling out multiple line items within a section. So that's how you can know. You can also just see it in the parenthetical call out. That's a way to know that you're in multiple line items, or you're pulling from multiple. Subdivision 14, we have 393,854.32 from the 2021 capital bill, various projects. And those would be within your BGS section, right? Section 2B, state building. Subdivision 15, we have 97,890.12 reallocated from the women's correctional facilities in the 2021 capital bill. Actually, we also have cash language later on speaking to this, and Representative Donahue helped to foreground. Oh, she was talking about the youth stabilization.
It's Gina. And let's hope that's the only question we get on the women's facility.
Why where did that 97 come from?
That was in the governor's.
It's part of the GovRec.
Governor's.
Why we took it out? We don't know why we took that out though.
We've been putting money in for quite a while on this.
This would have been 21.
Yes.
21, we put money in for that, and then we had did some funky stuff.
For 5 year.
Yeah.
No, we did some funky stuff because the Senate didn't want to have a line item for women's facility, and then the next year we kind of changed that. It got funky.
All right.
But yeah, that's from the GovRec.
Some of it went towards council of state governments. They wanted to hide the money, Senate. And then there was some left over, and then it ended up with.
Okay.
It got really weird there at the very beginning.
In subdivision 16, 618K from the 2021 capital bill. This is your state building section again. It's the same as the kind of reallocations you've seen in the earlier pieces, section 2C, various projects. 618,000.
You know, I'm gonna go back to that correctional.
Oh, is that
Don't
what
worry
that's-
about it. We're gonna keep working.
Yep.
You don't need to know. $19,000 compounds. Is that something you guys found?
Sorry? No,
Which figure?
97,000.
we did not find that. No, that was already. quoted.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Subdivision 16 is that 618,000 from the state building section of the 2021 capital bill.
I think we'll be okay with that. Let's just keep going
Okay,
down.
I love that.
Let's just keep going down.
In subsection B, you have sums appropriated to the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. You can see the same lead-in language, right? Sums appropriated to or reallocated to defray expenditures. And what you have here is 31,320.70 from the 2021 capital bill for ACCD unmarked burial fund. Below that, we have highlighted language. This is the technical cleanup I was talking about. Act 33 did contain 2 cash reallocations that used the word reallocate. And so this is truly, you'll see it on page 8, just changing reallocate to revert. No substantive change to any of the cash there. All available to defray cash expenditures. Subsection N. This is a reallocation from amounts appropriated to the vet's home in the 2023 capital bill. This is your elevator upgrade, reallocating 500K. And those, unlike the other reallocations, and like I said, practically, I don't know if this is especially significant, but this helps to evidence the committee's intent. Typically, when we reallocate capital expenditures, say reallocate to defray expenditures in sections 2 through 16, which are your bonded sections. Here, because you were trying to tie tightly to the vet's home piece, you're reallocating to defray expenditures authorized in section 6. Practically, I don't know that it actually matters, but indicates.
We had 100,000 for elevators Remember that? We had 100,000 for elevators back in 23. They need about 400,000. Gave them an extra 100
In case.
just in case they need to hold that remaining 500,000, and we put it towards the sewer project.
Right.
Subsection O is reallocating 63,413.15 from the enhanced 911 compliance grant that were first, technically they were actually added in 2018 capital bill.
Wow. And
Section P, this is amounts appropriated to A and R, where state-owned forest and recreational access points. It's that big 3 cents.
So that clearly was last year. You could clean it up.
You're going to start to see highlights on page 9.
There's
This
probably
is-
more than,
But this is the
That makes
new
except for 3 cents.
reallocation reversion section for the cash.
Exactly. And this doesn't change anything from what you saw, except a technical change from reallocate to revert. Like I said, in the future, I might create just a separate standalone section for cash reversions, and you could talk about them as separate sections. But I can go through the line items. The first is 119,114.60 from the 2023 capital bill, planning reuse contingency.
Yeah, we can go through this real quick.
1 million for pulled from the 120 State Street renovation. 450,000 from the West Cottage,
It's
372, 557.10 from the short-term stabilization facility. 750K from the Washington County Superior Courthouse in Berry.
I want to go back to lines 15, 14. So Paul, how much money do you have right now for the short-term facility? You got about 300,000, right? I think that's what you already had, because we put in quite a bit. We put in over $1 million to go forward, and then you folks decided to do a design build. I just want to know what you've got in hand right now. We can let that know next week, but I want to know how much you got in hand. Uh-huh.
The DCF use stabilization facility does have 372,000 cash reallocations in this bill, which John get to. So that might be what you're thinking about, 370,000, they're giving back in cash.
Yeah, but they already have some of
They might
that.
have some more, but just so you know,
Yeah, but I want to know what they've got in hand right now. Because that's going to be important for further conversations.
750K reverted from the Washington County Superior Courthouse in Berry. 250K reverted from the planning and design of the Rutland Field Station. On page 10, we have $995,040 reverted from the EV charging stations in the 2023 capital bill. Those are amounts that were appropriated from the cash fund to BGS.
So whoever's doing this section, we didn't spend much time on why these dollars are being reallocated. We're gonna need to get a little bit more information from BGS on some of this for the person who's reporting it. As to like some of the larger amounts, the 1 million from 120, we probably talked about. The 750 from Berry, it's pretty substantial. 250 from the Rutland Field Station. While we're going ahead with building it, why are we why are we pulling it back? And then the EV charging stations, it's almost $1 million. We're gonna need to do some work on that.
Okay.
I want to be able to answer those questions, as some people may start asking, and you didn't help with that. And we need to,
Especially VL.
yeah, that's almost $1 million.
He's gonna be glad that we took $1 million out of it.
He's gonna be-
He'll be like,
But that's, yeah.
But I wanna know, we didn't really get into this.
That's fair. Yeah, the reporter certainly needs to understand that.
Yeah,
That could be a
so
problem.
we're gonna have to spend some time for that. So when we come back next week on Tuesday, well, it would be really good if we could have BTS come in and just walk us through that. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in your hands to take care of, and then you can get in touch with Jake.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay?
I don't know who did that section last year. It wasn't me.
Because we didn't look at this at all.
We wouldn't have had it last year because.
We wanna have it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm happy to do that.
It's
When we
been in
get to
there
it.
for 3 years, so I wanna know why what's going on with the project. Again, this is partly the craziness of putting this bill together, and partly my fault, because this section for cash reallocations is totally new. For us.
Yeah, that's,
Just weren't focused on,
it would be wise to drill down on that before it gets,
because it could be asked on the floor and we don't have an answer.
oh, I can see it now.
So we will do that Tuesday afternoon. Okay, Cole?
So those were your cash reversions through BGS. The next, what you see in subsection R on page 10, these were also the BGS, but we have to call out a separate act. They're reverted from a separate act. So you're seeing 1.5 million reverted from the 120 State Street renovation.
So that really hasn't hit that 3-year mark.
It's authorized in the 2023 and then amended in 2024. Does raise some interesting questions, I guess, but
I don't think any of these have technically hit the 3-year mark. This is BGS pulling it a year early. I don't know if they thought, or the governor pulling it
Sure.
a year early. Because it's,
Joe was in here talking about this. That's 120 State Street.
yeah. I'm just saying any of the cash
Yeah.
reversions in section 19, they technically aren't
Yeah.
up for reclamation until
the years
this,
have passed from the end of the,
right. So
And then
July
this
is when,
fiscal-
Exactly.
July is gonna be
exactly,
3 years.
meaning that these are permissive reallocations, essentially, they're
Yeah.
choices.
Because the bill will become law.
Yeah, so I think of it as like establishing different priorities for the cash, basically, is what you're doing. You're,
They want to get their hands on it before us.
That's right. Because it would have been on that next.
Yeah.
and then you just see the change to total reallocations also include reversions. We next come to the cash funded project authorization. So we've done our bonded pieces, we've done reallocations, versions. Now we're at cash funded project authorizations. This would all be very familiar from this morning's amendment to the budget, which just set out exactly these pieces. So I would just offer that if you wanted to change anything here, I'm sorry. But so I'm just going to scroll right past it.
Skip right, don't want to know.
Skip by that.
Ignorance is bliss.
Some of us were young, go 8 o'clock.
So intent language in this section, talks about the way that we set up the cash section. And then the piece we see in subsection C on page 11, you have your FY 26 cash authorizations. This just included your sprinkler system installation call out. No change to that figure, but the actual FY 27 cash authorizations begin with subsection F. And they are all from the same capital infrastructure sub-account of the cash fund. $1,281,173.60 for statewide major maintenance. $225K for statewide physical security enhancements. On page 12, $3.6 million for the Asa Bloomer roof replacement. $900K for the Rutland multimodal garage renovation. $3 million for 32 Cherry Street parking garage repairs. $1.05 million for HVAC upgrades at correctional facilities. $225K for statewide correctional facility security upgrades. $700,000 for door control upgrades at correctional facilities. $1 million for the boiler replacement at the Northern State Correctional Facility. $772,550.10 for the youth short-term stabilization facility. I think that's what Rep. Donahue was speaking to.
And that's what they wanted to know. next.
Yep. Page 13, $2,498,000 for the state match for drinking water state revolving fund. $150K for the Waterbury Dam Penstock project cost overruns. $400K to Forest Parks and Recreation for park infrastructure and rehabilitation improvement and 3 acres of compliance. $200K for dam maintenance and safety planning through Fish and Wildlife. $500K for the urban search and rescue facility. $500 to the judiciary for the Essex County Courthouse Connector project. $1.6 million BGS renovations at the White River Junction Courthouse. $566,724 to the Vermont Historical Society for a climate control unit. And the pieces that we most discussed, subdivision 19, which extends across pages 13 and 14, $3 million for DOC to work with the Agency of Digital Services to install a Wi-Fi system in state correctional facilities, which is appropriately designed to address the safety, security, and confidentiality risks of the correctional environment. And then $1.25 million for the replacement of the women's reentry in correctional facilities.
And then the language for the Wi-Fi is.
Report back is in the policy sections, and I will call it out when we get to it. And it has an explicit tie to this authorization. So in the policy sections, we are at the bottom of, or kind of midway on page 14. We have our language from DEC, including that new defined term for eligible mobile home park water system. We pulled in the existing statutory kind of vague term, privately owned nonprofit community type system. It was an intentional choice not to disrupt the way the statutes are currently administered.
Saying that.
Well, it bothers me, but if I had it my way, I would just rewrite everything, but I don't supposed to do that. I just get frustrated when I think things should be clear. Anyway. Yes, section 11,
You're good, John. You are.
it's like when the
It's freaking you.
intuitive, yeah. One of my neurotic things, which is admittedly a useful skill for this job, so it's not a bad thing. Okay, section 11. is- Okay,
More chocolate.
all right, I will. I didn't tell all you guys, I did not wake up to my alarm this morning. I woke up at 8:15 and supposed to be meeting at 8 to discuss the reversion business. And then ready,
Where you were.
I've been ready for the hack amendment at 9, and I was like, okay.
Oh, you go faster.
Section 11. This is updating your loan agreements. This is providing advantage term loans to those kinds of water systems.
So this section right here, because it says the word fees, triggers the bill going to Ways and
It's going to
Means,
Ways and Means.
as does lease to Vermont Huts from Forest and Parks. So the bill needs to go to Ways and Means first.
Okay.
Well, it's just an extra step. That's all.
Don't expect it to be a
Have
hassle.
have both of us, Chair of Ways and Means, and me off guard. We got notice from Betsy Ann this morning.
Oh, it's on TN, caught it.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I said, well, we have, and then I told Emily, I said, it's gotta be from
Mhm.
other language.
Policies, yeah.
Policy stuff from last year's bill or something.
I mean, you can think of that as also a useful, we talked before about the routing of policy sections through the capital bill that might otherwise travel elsewhere. I mean, this sort of thing means that even if you put it in the capital bill, it will have to travel through. So,
Particularly the drinking water revolving loan fund, because, you know, we fund that. And a lot of times what I've seen happen with other items, even though we fund it in the capital bill, there's a policy committee that will change that program and not let us know.
yeah, and at some point in the future, just based on my reaction to that defined term alone, I would hope that if there's appetite at some point to revisit some of the, or not even change the decisions to clean up the statutes, I think would be nice, but
That's what we can do in our free time. Right?
sure is.
There you
Sure is.
go.
So page 15, these are advantage terms, right? Typically under A1, loans should not exceed 30 years. They have to be secured with assets determined by VITA. Dedicated source of revenue. 4 has a stylistic update, really just a stylistic update to reflect common drafting conventions today. The real change is on page 16, subdivision 5. We've added in the notwithstanding subdivision 1 piece because sub 1 prohibits term lengths in excess of 30 years, about for 4 years. That's implicit, I assume, in the way that it was already drafted, so it's just cleanup. The real change is making available this section to those eligible mobile home park water systems. And what this section does is that it allows these longer term, 40-year loan term at an interest rate plus administrative fee to be established by the Secretary of Natural Resources that shall not be more than 3% or less than -3. That's really the thing that kicks it in, right? Is you have the floor of 0% elsewhere. These can go lower. Under existing law, the kick in for this is that the applicant system meets certain income level household user cost requirements. But this is saying you can alternatively qualify. You don't have to be that kind of applicant system if you are an eligible mobile home park water system. We'd still have to meet these other conditions that at least 80% of the residential units continually occupied by local residents and at least 80% of water produced is for residential use. But this is just pulling in a new water system to be eligible under this section. DEC language with some stylistic tweaks that we've done. Under sub C, there's a requirement that the Secretary of Natural Resources certify the loan term and interest rate to VITA. And it applied an additional floor here in existing law. It's in no instance shall the annual interest rate plus administrative fee be less than is necessary to achieve an annual household user cost equal to 1% of the median household income of the applicant water system. And so effectively that's a floor to the rate that could be charged because they're saying, well, it should equal this 1% of median household income. And the language that you see here is carving out from the requirement. So except as applied to an eligible mobile home park water system, Secretary shall not certify. So this is saying those eligible mobile home park water systems are not subject to this minimum 1% of median household income constraint. Meaning they could have sort of the most advantage long term.
So whoever reports this section, really gonna need to understand.
And I can talk with whoever will be reporting this too.
Don't write their report for them.
I'm happy to hear that.
I don't know how to- You can give them bullets.
No. I've heard that I can't write them anything. Nor can I speak to them.
Just don't write their report for
Pull that chocolate.
them. Bullets are not good.
So those are your
Just
Ds.
the meaning.
No, I mean, it forces people to internalize what they're doing. I have had my moments on the floor where I've heard someone verbatim saying what I wrote, and I'm like, oh, I did not know this was going to happen.
Yeah, that's what they do, and then they
But
ask, then they're asked a question, then they can't answer.
It's also flattering for me. So, yeah.
Madam
Didn't need to change what I did.
Ledge Council.
Then can I have a recess to talk to the ledge council?
So those are your DC sections. You did not include, just to call back, the section 8. So it was either section 8 or section 9. Section 9, which would have changed would have created a large exemption from the pollution abatement prioritization system.
This next section, we really
Yeah.
didn't make.
Did I lose that? I thought we were landed on no solicitation. Is that
We
to
had
me?
not made a decision.
I think this was one where there was no decision.
It was not only you, right? But you lost.
Right there were two of you.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm trying to say.
Got voted.
Yeah, this is, yeah,
You did better than you usually do.
What's your?
well, the ethics code.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, it's more, I understood the committee's concern to be more about slippery slope type arguments.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether this will or wouldn't do that. And I'm sorry, I meant to check with Tucker on what these existing ones were, but
Whoever reflects on this maybe just wants to gloss over it a little bit.
Not it.
Talk- I'm not talking about the.
Troy's going to be on his.
Troy or Brian?
Debating our committee. Troy's going to be debating our committee.
If you interrogate me, there will be counter hijinks.
Do you have as much
Can
fun
hold
in
the
other
flag.
committees?
I can't answer that. I'm not part of
He's got his directions. He can't.
that.
You got some more minutes.
We're doing good. Page 17, we jumped to, well, I'm not gonna say this because you just talked about it.
Yeah.
That's your solicitation piece. Department of Forest, Parks and Recreation at the bottom of this page. This is something that my colleague, Micah Grady, spoke to you guys about the Little River State Park lease.
And
Reflects
this is also triggering us going into Waits and Means.
the lease piece.
Yeah.
Um,
Supposedly, were we gonna put in a date? This had to be. done now?
in FY 27 authorized to enter a long-term lease.
Yeah, but did we talk about if it's not done by a certain date? No, we were starting it in 2027, but it may not be completed for 4 years.
Well, it's authority to enter into a lease, right? So you need to enter the lease in FY 27 is the way that I read this. In FY 27, commissioners authorized to enter into a long-term lease.
Agreed. The call says.
So then the. So enter into it, does that mean that you completed the negotiations and are signed off?
I think if you've entered into the lease, I mean, that's the way that I would read it, is you are a party to the lease now.
Yeah, at least if it's been entered into, it's a.
Yeah.
It's a.
I would say negotiate if I was trying to.
Aren't they in the process of that right now?
They can't do, they're given the authority for a year.
Gotcha.
Now have.
So they could agree on terms and then sign it on July 1st.
Yeah, they can do things now. Yeah, but there's no,
They haven't even started talking about the terms.
they'll be there.
Yeah, my concern is I just didn't want the negotiations to go on forever and ever and not have an end product.
Well, technically this forces that then, because it needs to be within the fiscal year that they enter,
27.
Yeah.
Do they have?
beginning July 1 of this year.
Yeah, so they have until June of next year.
Exactly.
Just want that clear, because sometimes with some of this stuff in the past, we've just seen it go on and on,
Mhm.
a drop dead date.
On page 19, the Southern State Correctional Facility language, again, this was signed off, Commissioner Manoli, okay.
There's no Hojo's pit language in here.
Or live testimony.
Already there.
Already, yeah.
I'll tell you, when BGS found that person who was Joe's position at that point, whenever he came into the committee, he was so happy to find this piece of property because he said the soil is perfect to build on. He was just so happy because it was all sand and gravel. We don't have to do much excavation. So, well, there were a lot of parties up there. He was,
So what it said.
he was a happy camper.
So
Good lost the time, Joe. On page 20, accompanying the transfer authority are a set of repeals. The first in subsection A is repealing the previous transfer authority granted in the 2024 capital bill, which was for a different purpose and a smaller acreage, 10 acres. So this is essentially replacing that section. The alternative approach would have been to amend it, but I think it's cleaner to just have it all here. Exactly. And the second piece of this, section 14, that's the transfer authority. It's repealed on July 1, 2030, meaning that this speaks to a bunch of different things, but if you haven't actually transferred it by that date, you would lose the authority at that point. And we do have a separate piece here just above that if the town hadn't begun developing the transferred property by the end of March 2030, they would need to consult with BGS. And again, it's implicit there that it's been transferred, so they would have used the authority and it would not matter that this appeal happens.
You're not getting.
Thank you.
I don't think the
And then section 16.
section 16, this is the duplicate budget language. Was giving you off session for this off session, August through December monthly reports, AHS in consultation with DCF and BGS, reporting to joint fiscal and legislative justice oversight to develop that Green Mountain Youth Campus, and in particular requesting an annual operating budget. And then the real piece you care about is the more substantive provision here is subsection B. DCF and BGS not to expend any funds for further development in FY 27 until one of the following happens. JFC, in consultation with the institutions committee's chairs, approves resumption of expenditures after reviewing those reports on operating expenditures, or say adjournment has happened, you didn't get joint fiscal approval, you're back in session, the General Assembly could authorize resumption of spending through legislative act. So it imposes a gate. You may have existing spending authority for all sorts of things related to this, and it says DCF, BGS don't expend funds in FY 27 until you get one of these authorizations. Lastly, page 21, your report on Wi-Fi installation in state correctional facilities. This has the Commissioner of Corrections and the Chief Information Officer Digital Services monthly reporting during adjournment in this calendar year. Thank you for the correction from 2027 to 2026. Monthly reporting to Joint Legislative Justice Oversight in consultation with the chairs of institution committees on the installation of Wi-Fi in state correctional facilities authorized pursuant to, and then we have the cash call out. And just note that while this is just says, report on the installation of Wi-Fi in state correctional facilities, you have some additional granularity in that cash authorization, which speaks to developing a system that is appropriately secure and safe and confidential for correctional environments. So that would, yes,
Do we see a smile?
there is no, yes, you do. Sorry. Effective date.
I said, do we see a smile?
The effective date is my favorite. It's on passage. And that is it. That is the capital budget adjustment.
And you have 2 minutes before 2 o'clock.
I know. We did so
Well,
well.
hang on, we may still need them because I have to get the draft electronically and blah, blah, blah. So we've gone through the bill. Any dangling issues? Any dangling issues on the spreadsheet? We are ready to vote this puppy out. I would entertain a motion to vote
So
on
moved.
draft.
It is on.
Draft 3.1 favorable. So Joe has moved. Gina has seconded. It's been moved and seconded. We vote out draft 3.1 favorable. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Representative Casey,
Yes.
Representative Galfetti.
Yes, with explanation.
And that's what you want to mention.
Representative Greer. Representative Greg Wire.
Yes.
Note electronically.
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Go to bed.
Representative Hedrick.
Yes.
Representative Luno.
Yes.
Representative Minier.
Yes.
Representative Morrissey.
I'm thinking about it.
I'll note that as well. Representative Sweeney, yes. Representative Winter is absent. And Chair,
Yes.
10-0. Got it, brother.
10-01, I want to thank everyone for the work you've done.
Clear still.
Yes, so I'll let the speaker know and pending entry into the bill being done for all. They may send it to Ways and Means today, I'm not sure. What I would also ask folks is, and I know you don't want to look at this over the weekend, I don't blame you. But I'll be working on it over the weekend because I really want to know more behind it. If there's any sections that you really want to report on. We're not gonna need too many reporters. Again, I give the overview, brief overview. And then we break it down. Three people, three, at the very most, beyond me, at the very most. So just, you know, folks want to volunteer would be great.
I'm happy to.
Okay, just figure out, this weekend, think about it, figure out what sections you'd be interested in doing. Don't pick all the easy ones. And we'll talk about it on Tuesday. But I want to thank you all. We've put up a lot of work so far between corrections issues, between this. And it feels like the Capitol bill ended up being really scattered this year. But we'll get through it. And then when we come back next week, we'll finish up trying to get around the cash, the allocations. And we're gonna have some Senate bills coming over, particularly one, particularly that's gonna take a lot of work and a lot of background. It's the forensic facility in a correctional facility. I don't know where that bill's gonna land. I don't know if it's gonna be a judiciary or here. They gotta pass it in the Senate. It's been on the calendar for a week and a half. So they haven't passed it yet. So I just don't know, but we're gonna do some background work on that.
You're saying it might land in judiciary first, or it might not come here at all,
It might land here first.
but we're gonna see it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know, basically the bill's gonna be. Just not sure, because it came out of Judiciary Committee. So
So that would be for individuals who are found unfit to stand trial?
Yeah.
Or
it's pretty complicated.
for the,
It could be.
Oh, it's gonna look different.
Competency, it could be insanity, it could also be that they have a court order to be
Have a great weekend. I
evaluated.
think we need to give
Well,
our staff a round of applause.
the complicated,
We're done, and let's go off with you two.
Thank you.
And